Alright, to continue where we left off for, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Yes, I had to stop after almost 5 minutes because dinner was ready. That was the only reason why. So, moving on from there. So, basically what happens next after Belle has this conversation with Hestia, in the book, what happens next is that he meets up with Hermes. Right after this. Yes, he meets up with Hermes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Talks to him, and then he talks to Fellis, which basically was a character who appeared in the previous season show. Here he appears here for this brief scene. I think this was his only appearance in this whole trilogy. Was this one brief scene, which seems it was completely accurate, but the scene with Hermes was cut for some reason. It was simply put Hermes explaining his actions from the previous season to Belle. That was simple the reason for it. And for some reason they cut it. It's one of a couple things they cut from here. The other was basically a new nickname ceremony to give Belle a new nickname, because basically his original nickname was Little Rookie. With this ceremony, they changed his name to Rabbitfoot. In the anime, they cut it. Not really sure why they cut the sequence, but in the case of Hermes one, that was kind of important. But they could easily maybe adapt that for I don't know if they adapted that for the pre for the season. I didn't watch the recap one. I did not watch it at all, so I don't know if they did that there or not. So, so immediately afterwards, he's basically summoned to the guild hall, where we have these two guys basically want to go tell Elaine that they want to go on a quest, and then Belle shows up, and she's like very happy to see him, and she's blushing while around him. Yes, showing out the fact that she is madly in love with him. Yeah, this is slightly different. In the book, it's not explicitly shown that she's had this nervous stuff be around Belle per se, but it's fine because something that built from the last season of the show, where despite the fact she sees Belle as sort of a little brother, she's madly in love with him. Yep. So it gives him an official note, which they think is a love letter. Nope, it is. It's basically from the head of basically the god who's the patron god of the guild. Because Belle wants to go back to go in the dungeon again after the events of the previous season of the show, which caused a lot of damage to the city itself. So he wants to go explore the dungeon again, and apparently his request is granted. So the Hestia, which has been registered as a exploration familia, has been tasked to explore the guild beyond their normal limit. So Hestia didn't like it at first, but she's going anyways. So they request help from a couple of different guilds, from the Mecha Guild and the Mecha. I think it's the two guys who are close friends with Hestia. Request their help. From the Pharmacist Guild, they get Daphne and Cassandra. Good they got these two because there's stuff related to Cassandra in the book, which I'll get to when we get to more of this other book too. And Machiko's, her old familia, which has her former patron, who it's been hinted in the series these two both have a thing for each other, and they both know it. And it's also been implied that he really wants to marry her at some point. So basically, test her skills, and the other two who are there with them is going with them on this exploration guild. And Ashia, formerly of the Ishtar Guild, currently in the Hermes Guild, Hermes Familia, which they don't mention here for some reason. I'm like, did the people who wrote this episode forget that she's from the Hermes Guild, that she's basically in the Hermes Familia right now? Where she just volunteers to go. Then she meets up with affiliate the Fox lady, where she's like, oh, draw the curtains out, and she gets closer and closer. You can imply in this scene that Ashia really probably wants to basically do some Yuri stuff with it, but no, not really. Basically, she wants to help her learn some new magic, thanks to a grimoire. Yes, which I believe this is the first time grimoire has ever been seen in the series. Which is interesting to say the least, because if you might be curious, there's any anime I come across that has a grimoire in it, The most obvious one is Black Clover. They're very rare to see in the anime where you see a grimoire, basically a book of spells. I mean, yes, Fruit Revolution does have one of these, actually several of these have books, but not a lot of them do. Mostly, it's restricted somewhat to isekai ones. Mostly anything that's magic based basically has grimoires. And if you're curious though, does Bleach have one? Not really. Bleach is one of those ones that does not have a grimoire. Nope. You might think, okay, what about Freya? It had one in the early episodes of season 1, but not all of them do. So that, and of course, Lily is the one who told us that Michigo's Guild, well, basically that about a whole thing about Cassandra and Daphne going. Yes. And Daphne tells Lily's role in this whole thing to be the strategist, basically the rear guard with Cassandra. Yep. Yep. So, and also we have it where I believe his name is Chico. He actually requests from Wolf a weapon to protect the two women he knows. And it's later shown in the episode that his weapon he gets is a big, humongous axe, which does suit him. And everybody gets brand new attires, including Ashia, who is wearing pretty much the same outfit as just her debut, and now she's showing off more skin than she was before, because she shows off her sexy legs of hers. Interesting, though, that everybody gets a new outfit except for Lily. She's the only one who doesn't. I'm thinking, that's kind of weird. Everyone else gets new outfits, but not Lily. So, then the night before they all go out on their quest, we have it where these 4 gods, including Hephaestus, basically all have a drink in the bar. Of course, Hestia lightly proclaims a bar that she loves Belle. And of course, they talk about people part of their familia. It's a really good scene here. And in case you're curious, though, it's from the book. Yes, it is. Also, in case you're curious, though, in the name-changing one, does Freya herself appear? Yes, she does. And she's completely absent from the episode. She does play a role in Book 16. I'm not going to spoil that because basically it's a quite interesting role to say the least. And it relates to one of the characters who has a thing for Belle in the series. Yep. So, then they go off on their quest the very next day. Everybody basically all suit up. Wilf takes a while. He's actually the last one to get ready. And of course, Daphne at one point, not Daphne, it's actually Cassandra was actually hesitant to go because of a dream she had about Moss. But that's going to, hope if you think it's going to play, you'll find out. And now the gods basically wishing well in their exploration of the dungeon. Episode ends with the credits where basically battling a bunch of hornets. And Belle taking a hornet's nest. And you might ask, is this from the book? Yep, it's from toward the halfway point of chapter 2. And that's where we leave off there. I gotta say, good episodes to start the season off. I might watch the episode 0 probably at some point, but not right now. It is interesting though the fact that this show I thought it was going to premiere at the same time as My Hero Academia because Lucius Christian is in both series, but they are premiering earlier than usual. But I did hear something. Apparently, My Hero aired the first episode. Of the very next season, presumably next weekend, and then they're gonna release like more episodes later after the opening episode. I'm gonna wait till that one's dubbed before I watch it. Yep. Now, am I gonna watch this one dubbed later on, like I did the previous season? Now, I should point out though, you might be thinking though, did I watch? Because I watched first season all dubbed, third season I viewed all entirely subbed. Did I go back and watch the whole thing dubbed? Yes, I did. It took me a while, but I got it done. I kept falling behind on it, and the one that took me a while to get to, at least get a chance to watch, was the final episode. That was simply put the only reason that, like, I got the first half of the season, no problem. It just the final episode was kind of an issue. Yes, so next episode, which airs next week, which is called The Great Fall, which they actually talked about in this episode, where Lane is talking to Belle while he's preparing for mission, where in the book he's basically asked to teach Pilot again. He is basically all the notes about the deeper levels of the dungeon further than what he was before, so he has good info exactly what he's getting into. It's good though that he's the captain of this expedition, and if you're gonna ask, does the Lokia Guild themselves, despite the fact there's a mention of Ainz basically appearing in the episode, which the episode does bring it from the book, do they appear in this arc at all? The answer is no. They're actually absent in this arc. Yes, this actually is the first arc of the entire series where the Loki Familia is completely absent. Aside from the brief imagery we see in this episode, there's no physical encounters with the Loki Familia in this entire arc. The arc starts book 12 and concludes with basically book 14, though 15 is kind of an epilogue of the arc before I get to the very next arc of the series, starting with book 16. Now, 16 is the furthest I have read so far in the light novel series, which is basically further what probably the anime is going to get to. Now, I would not be surprised if they cut. Now, from what I heard, they're covering the Labyrinth Exploration arc, which takes the books 12 to 14. And I would also not be surprised if they could book 15 as well, even though that's just a series of stories. One of whom related to a character. Now, Guile herself, she's the female elf who there's stuff about her revealed about her in this arc, her and her stuff for Belle, which I'm not going to spoil here, but if you read the books, please don't spoil anybody who hasn't yet. But is she going to play a role in this arc? Yes, she does. As a matter of fact, I should point out the very next book, book 13, is really short. It's like 180 pages. It was the quickest book of the whole series that got me to get through. While in the case of book 14, where it was over 400 pages, I think it was like 416 pages this damn book was. It was long. Really long. It took me 2 whole weeks to get this damn book. But I eventually got it done anyways. Yep. Okay, so now I'm pretty much how to save this episode. It's a good episode to start the season off. Now, was there anything else majorly cut from book 2? Not really, no. They mostly get everything there from the first half of chapter 2, but it's basically just two segments from book chapter 1, but mostly they kept a lot of stuff in anyways, which, good job for the start of this. Okay, so that's episode of you. Next episode is going to be case closed. Okay, next video. Bye.